Third Sunday of Advent.
A reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah. The desert and the parched land will exult. The steppe will rejoice and bloom. They will bloom with abundant flowers and rejoice with joyful song. The glory of Lebanon will be given to them, the splendor of Carmel and Sharon. They will see the glory of the Lord, the splendor of our God. Strengthen the hands that are feeble. Make firm the knees that are weak. Say to those whose hearts are frightened, "Be strong, fear not." Here is your God, he comes with vindication. With divine recompense he comes to save you. Then will the eyes of the blind be opened, the ears of the deaf be cleared. Then will the lame leap like a stag. Then the tongue of the mute will sing. Those whom the Lord has ransomed will return and enter Zion singing, crowned with everlasting joy. They will meet with joy and gladness. Sorrow and mourning will flee. The word of the Lord.
Secures justice for the oppressed, gives food to the hungry. The Lord sets captives free. Lord, come and save us. Lord, come and save us. The Lord gives sight to the blind. The Lord raises up those who were bowed down. The Lord loves the just. The Lord protects strangers. Lord, come and save us. Lord, come and save us. The fatherless and the widow he sustains, but the way of the wicked he thwarts. The Lord shall reign forever, your God, O Zion, through all generations. Lord, come and save us. Lord, come and save us.
A reading from the letter of St. James. Be patient, brothers and sisters, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient with it until it receives the early and the late rains. You too must be patient. Make your hearts firm, because the coming of the Lord is at hand. Do not complain, brothers and sisters, about one another, that you may not be judged. Behold, the judge is standing before the gates. Take as an example of hardship and patience, brothers and sisters, the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. The word of the Lord.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When John the Baptist heard in prison of the works of the Christ, he sent his disciples to Jesus with this question: Are you the one who is to come, or should we look for another? Jesus said to them in reply, Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind regain their sight, the lame walk, lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have the good news proclaimed to them. and blessed is the one who takes no offense at me." As they were going off, Jesus began to speak to the crowds about John. "What did you go out to the desert to see? A reed swayed by the wind? Then what did you go out to see? Someone dressed in fine clothing? Those who wear fine clothing are in royal palaces. Then why did you go out? To see a prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. This is the one about whom it is written, 'Behold, I am sending my messenger ahead of you. He will prepare your way before you.' Amen, I say to you, among those born of women, there has been none greater than John the Baptist. Yet the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he." The Gospel of the Lord.
The third Sunday of Advent. This Sunday is dedicated to the theme of rejoicing because we're already celebrating the third Sunday of Advent. The time of Christmas is at hand. And so we hear about rejoicing in the first reading, Isaiah 35, 1-6 and 10. That the wilderness and the dry lands exalt. The wilderness were usually thought about as dangerous places, places where it was difficult to follow God's will. And nevertheless they'll rejoice because God's blessing will come upon them. In fact, the proclamation will go up, "Your God is coming, vengeance is coming, retribution is coming." Everything that troubled the people will be healed, and the enemies of the people will be defeated. So Zion will shout for joy. The second reading is from James 5, 7-10. And James tells the community that they should respond to the times that they're living in with patience. They should be like the farmer who waits for the autumn rain and the spring rain. That he has patience, he plants his crop, and he trusts that the rain will come. Likewise, we, in our expectation of Christmas, in our expectation for the end of the world, should live in patience. We should put up with the difficulties of everyday life, realizing that ultimately they're not the most important thing. The most important thing is that we never lose our relationship with the Lord. And the Gospel is from Matthew 11, 2-11. John's in prison, and he sends some of his disciples to ask Jesus, "Are you the one?" Now, is it that John is doubting, or is it that John is simply sending the disciples so that they might learn that Jesus is the Messiah? What does Jesus say? "Just tell John what I do. The blind are healed, the deaf hear, the dead are brought back to life." So obviously these are signs of the dawning of the kingdom. And when they leave, Jesus speaks to his disciples about John the Baptist, that he was a prophet in the desert. And he was great because he prepared the hearts of the people for the coming of the day of the Lord. Nevertheless, the least of children who have seen the kingdom is greater than John the Baptist. John the Baptist prepared Israel for the day of the Lord, but he couldn't bring it about with his own power. It's Jesus who causes the dawning of the day of the Lord. And may God bless us.